After many battles against higher powers of Scientia, Invidetine Ravenglass, king of the Tramaxiverse, remains victorious despite being a mortal and facing against gods and deities. However, today's battle was different than the last. The fallen god told Invidetine something that began to question himself and his wife. The god told him that the woman he had married was also from the same birthplace as the rivals he faced. He knew he had to question her later. However, this didn't stop Invidetine from killing his foes stone dead. With the information in mind, he begins his journey back home. Once Invidetine arrived at his house, which was a giant oak tree with an entire palace kept inside, he was greeted by his wife at the doors. Sindberg Ravenglass, queen of the Tramaxiverse, ran towards her husband and shared a loving embrace. However, Invidetine was eager to hug his wife back. Sindberg looked at him. She saw the puzzled and worried look in his eyes and walked him to his office to see what was wrong. In the office, Invidetine told her what the recent threat told him, and she looked at him in shock. She couldn't believe that her secret was revealed. Sindberg then told him that it was true. Invidetine sighs, looks up at her, and asks her why she didn't tell him herself. She responded by saying that if she would have told him, he might not love her anymore. Invidetine held his hand on her cheek and said that their marriage is strong no matter what they face or say to one another. Sindberg, relieved, began to tell him the story of Scientia's darkest age that is yet to occur. This is the story of the Cataclysm prophecy origin. Moments after the colossal Big Bang, which started the creation and the concept of time and space, a small group of gods emerged from the very fabric of creation. One standing taller than the others and was leading by example. This tall, bearded, intelligent star-eyed titan was known as the Ultimatum. With celestial power at his fingertips, the titan created a small oval shield to protect not only the gods from being seen, but also the universes they will form. As eons passed, they formed 3 different universes: a red chaotic universe called the Havaverse, a golden intelligent universe named the Complexiverse, and a white tranquil universe called the Tramaxiverse. These 3 will be locked in a place with chains that can only be seen from the eyes of a god. However, what they worked hard to achieve would change its course by the hand of fate for the rest of time. A large asteroid with unknown materials phased through the shield they created and crashed straight into the chaotic red universe. The Ultimatum, puzzled, ordered his finest commanders and scientists to see what this new potential threat is and what should be justified moving forward. The son of the Ultimatum, Grantin Ravenglass, stood by the tall tyrant as he looked out of their observatory station, monitoring their collection of universes. Several beams of light shone from the transportation wing to the red universe, and after a few seconds, the scientists and commanders were gone and they would return when the task was done. Grantin asked his father what would be the point in finding the anomaly. The Ultimatum answered his query, with the anomaly being used to either strengthen the systems of the universes, their citadel, and accompanying archival universes, or the shield that surrounds them all. Grantin seemed to have understood, but deep down, he was questioning why everyone was being kept a secret from the rest of the space. What was his father hiding? The next day, the search team returned with a new piece of this newfound anomaly. It appears to be a newfound material that piqued a very high interest in the Ultimatum. This material is 100 times stronger and is a better source of energy than anything they could curate. Perhaps the gods weren't all that powerful. Grantin walked into the room to see what was going on, and his father sat him down next to him. This was to show him what the team had discovered, but the search team wasn't done on their report. Apparently, a new ghostly entity appeared from the rock and hovered above the boulder seconds after they cut a shard from the glowing rock. The Ultimatum and his son were confused and wanted to see. The Ultimatum brought up a holographic image of the crash site, and the glowing ghost had an eye-like formation with a shattered rift pattern, looking like it was rippling through the fabric of reality and creation. Grantin suggested that people should inhabit the planet that the rock landed on. If any new threats outside of their shield somehow got in like the boulder did, it needs to be defended against those threats. The Ultimatum agreed the boulder is too precious to be left unguarded. The tyrant used his celestial powers to form 2 small but powerful orbs in his palms to be sent away to the red universe, but also the golden universe. This was to make sure that there was extra defense and to make things interesting. 2 separate species yet similar in anatomy and behavior, keeping the peace while defending the most powerful source of energy in the whole system. The Ultimatum and Grantin thought they made the correct decision. However, they needed a name for the new element and the 2 species. The Titan thought for a long while, but Grantin came up with the name Armadium for the newest element. The name felt right because it meant strong and impenetrable, like armor or an army. The ultimatum liked the name, so we called the species on the same planet as the Armadians. However, the species in the Golden Universe needed a name. The ultimatum was intrigued by what his species was going to do. It was a very complex case, so with that in mind, he decided on the name Complexians. Grantin was on board with these names, so were the scientists and the commanders of the Underside Citadel. However, the ultimatum still saw the ghost entity as an issue because it's not of their origin and it's unknown what its power limit is. The scientists did discover that the properties and the energy of this entity are above the Underside's understanding. Perhaps they need to monitor its behavior moving forward. The name that the scientists gave it was the Dodecaprime emblem. The reason being is that it will be the Armadian symbol of peace and tranquility. The Tall Titan liked the name, so it was written in legend that the Dodecaprime was born. Months passed since the birth of Scientia. Grantin is now married to a beautiful goddess named Sarah Ravenglass, a well-kept, long dark brown-haired, and brave woman. Grantin worked for his father and the science department in the central citadel where they lived. However, today was going to have some unexpected events which will lead to the biggest change in history. A small essence of the Dodecaprime bled through the very fabric of space, causing the gods to see a small glimpse into the future of their universes. It was a very vague message, and everyone witnessing it was confused by what it was. The vision consisted of havoc, destruction, and the Big Bang. The ultimatum was puzzled, confused, and a bit startled by what he saw, mainly because it's their future. The Almighty asked his son to give his own opinions on what it could mean. Grantin looked around for a minute while trying to take in the information before he could come to a conclusion. He stopped and gave a reasonable answer. He believed that the future would be nothing but the downfall of the gods. The ultimatum wouldn't stand for this. He would order his team to investigate the emblem and find a solution to this. Meanwhile, Sarah was at home with her daughter, Signe Ravenglass, a blue-haired, star-eyed woman with a dream to see the multiverses. The two discussed Grantin's work and what the true nature of it is. Sarah said that Grantin's work is to strengthen our home and the universes they created. Grantin came home from a long day. Signe and Sarah greeted him and asked him how the work was. Grantin said that their world may be in danger due to an unexpected vision from the heart of the Dodecaprime. The two were a bit startled by what Grantin said, but they had high hopes for the future. However, Grantin knew there had to be a specific reason for why the Dodecaprime would show the Underside this. Was it to warn them? Was it just a false alarm? No answer was clear to Grantin. He just had to wait. Signe saw the puzzled look in her father's eyes. Even though she knew practically nothing about the small glimpse Grantin witnessed in the science department, she knew there had to be more. The small glimpse was still a mystery, even after a few months of thinking and experimenting. Grantin, on the other hand, created his own way to see the Red Universe without the notice of other deities and gods. He formed a mirror in his own home to spectate the Havoc Universe to monitor the Dodecaprime and the inhabitants that would protect the anomaly. Today, however, was going to be the day that the most dangerous prophecy would be told. Looking through the mirror, he watched a strange purple-haired Armadian fighting the villagers before coming face to face with its leader. They stared at one another before the first battle in the multiversal system would erupt. Many cuts and bruises were given to one another before the unknown Armadian reigned victorious. The figure walked up to the red floating and glowing anomaly, reached his hands out, and grasped the Dodecaprime. The emblem violently shook, and with enough force, a large beam of dark red and purple shot up to the sky, crossing through the barrier and hitting the Underside in its path. Sirens in the Citadel went off, and the ultimatum called every worker to the laboratory. Once Grantin arrived and saw the ripple damage, a large ripple in the fabric of time tore open and began to show the Citadel the future of their home. Two figures of insanity and destruction would have their revenge on the deities, killing all who would step in their way. One of the figures was a kid with a visor and red hair. The other was the same person that Grantin saw earlier, a masked man with purple hair. The ultimatum looked at this with slight fear. The ripple then switched the scene to a second colossal explosion that would restart everything. The Terran time would disappear, never to be seen again. The ultimatum and Grantin looked at each other and began to theorize what the visions meant. Grantin suggested that it was a prophecy of a very cataclysmic event that would kill all gods while resetting to the very beginning of the universe. However, the gods themselves wouldn't exist after the explosion. The explosion would create the universes they worked to develop. The ultimatum would order everyone except Grantin to leave. With the order given, all workers except his son left the laboratory. The ultimatum looked at his son. Anger filled his eyes. He would tell his son that he wouldn't let this prophecy demolish everything he has sacrificed. Grantin responded to him saying that he couldn't change the future. The Almighty would then reveal that his son has died many times over. Grantin, with a feared look in his eyes, questioned his father. The ultimatum wouldn't give his reasons. The Almighty would then come up with a solution. He looked at the dodecaprime, and to his surprise, it was gone. It turns out that it was separated into 3 equal pieces scattered across the planet it inhabited. After observing the remnants of the village, the same purple-haired figure was left alone. The ultimatum saw him and remembered the visions that he saw. It was the same man. He then thought of a new way to keep the prophecy at bay and to keep this figure away from the underside. He would loop this being's timeline and keep it contained in a small model of the entire barrier. He would keep this locked away in a vault, only accessible by the one who created it. Grantin, in fear, is still questioning his father's reasons for killing his own son many times. Not only was there fear, there was also bottled rage. After a little bit of thinking, he finally spoke his mind.
I knew something wasn't right. This life was always meaningless to you. Everything we have done has always been for the sake of power, hasn't it? Do I not matter to you? Does your granddaughter not matter to you? Father, do you even care at all for the ones you love the most? Our people will suffer greater consequences because of your foolish actions. You think because you're the almighty deity, you get to control the fate of our future. Well, time and the prophecy we saw will always catch up to you. You, Father, will burn along with the citadel you promised to protect, even if you're the one who started the flame.
His father would look at him with anger as he knew that one day Grantin could know the truth. The ultimatum would then start a whole new fight between father and son. This is what knowing the future does to a family. Once Grantin spoke his thoughts to his father, the Almighty chuckled a little. The ultimatum told his son that he's doing what is necessary, and his father told him that he killed off to benefit the future of the Almighty by using many souls of a fallen blood relative. Since the ultimatum only had one child, he did the only thing he could do. After killing and reviving his son countless times, he finally had what he needed to form the purple-haired man's timeline loop. Grantin was furious and enraged at his father. He would go for the first hit. However, the Almighty used his cosmic powers to pick him up, causing him to levitate. He would then proceed to throw Grantin out of the hall, breaking the table that he crashed into. Grantin, with his back in pain, would run to his living quarters to tell his wife and daughter to leave the citadel. The ultimatum, clenching his fist, would go back to his duties and stay focused on his task at hand. Grantin, holding his back, stumbles back into his living quarters and tells his 2 loved ones that they need to leave. Sarah took one look at Grantin and asked what happened. Grantin explained everything. Sarah was in disbelief. Grantin told them both to leave the citadel and find a new place to stay. His wife wanted to stay and help, but Grantin refused because of Scientia. He wanted to make sure both of them were together and safe. Sarah, however, wanted to be by her husband's side, fighting the darkest entity in all of creation. After a few minutes of arguing, they agreed on a final decision. Scientia was to be sent away to the Tremaxiverse to grow up without havoc or carnage in her path. Scientia, in a disagreement, tried to give her reasons. However, her parents would give more validated reasons. Sarah and Grantin promised their daughter that they will reunite once again on the doorstep of the cataclysmic event. Scientia, holding back tears, agrees to their request. Sarah gave Scientia a kiss on her forehead, wishing her a farewell. Grantin kissed her cheek and gave her a warm and loving embrace. Before he let go, he said that there was a gift for her. He would form a new species at the tip of his fingertips and place them in the Tremaxiverse. He knew that one day Scientia would see what these universes had to offer. However, because of the ultimatum, she was to be sent away from her home. Scientia thanked her father and let go before shedding a few more tears. The damage that happened today couldn't be undone, even if it were possible. Scientia grabbed her essentials and put them in her purse. She bade her parents farewell before using a mineral her father made called the multi-travel crystals. These crystals could teleport gods and deities under the radar. She would have a few of these in her purse for when the time was right, but she wouldn't be sure when the appropriate time would be. She would close her eyes, hold the crystal tightly, and keep the thoughts of the white universe in mind. Once Scientia opened her eyes, she found herself surrounded by trees, bushes, fruits, and animals. She knew the sacrifice her parents made was to keep her safe, but thoughts filled her mind of what her grandfather, the ultimatum, would do to her parents. She was interrupted by a child with a mushroom hat, pointy ears, flower eyes, and a nature-themed outfit. The small figure looked at the goddess and asked who she was. In response, she gave her name, and the mushroom child asked if she wanted to come with them to stay in the village near where they were. She would happily accept this offer. This was the beginning of a whole new adventure for Scientia. Invidetine, now understanding what she went through, leaned in and gave Scientia a warm embrace. He whispered in her ear that nothing will separate them and he will give the almighty deity a piece of his mind. Scientia, tearing up in relief, returned the hug and held onto her husband tightly. Invidetine, with the information in mind, plotted his first attack on the underside. Now was the perfect time to engage in a full-scale battle between himself and powers above his own. Scientia and Invidetine broke from the embrace and they both swore to protect the Tramaxiverse. Invidetine would give a little insight on how they will rescue their parents. He explained that since her parents will reunite with her on the doorstep of Cataclysm, he will use that to his advantage. Scientia, confused, asked if he could explain it a little further. He would then reveal that in order to start a cataclysm, he would first have to revisit a past he swore to stay away from. Invidetine would have to summon his younger self to fight alongside him. He would fight some gods while his younger self would rescue her parents. Scientia loved the idea. Invidetine would then get to work on a new multiversal travel machine or device. He had no clue yet. Instead of just traveling from place to place, it would also travel in time and to different timelines. Invidetine would take months to prepare and develop such a thing, and after many attempts and prototypes, he had finally perfected his craft. When the device was ready, Invidetine would pick a very specific date and hit the run command. This opened a gateway to the past, and he would see his younger self with red hair and a visor covering his eyes. This was his Decrypted era before the war. The red-haired figure looked at the portal and was surprised by what he saw. To his past self, it was looking at a dead man walking. His younger self stepped through the gateway, and Invidetine welcomed him to the Tramaxiverse. Scientia couldn't believe what she was witnessing. To Decrypted, this was overwhelming since multiversal travel wasn't possible in his eyes. Invidetine told Decrypted that he needed help with a massive task. He explained that there is a prophecy that would reboot the universe and save everyone in Scientia. Decrypted, for most of his life, always fought for the right cause, but people were blinded by power. So, with further details given, Decrypted was more than happy to help. With everything coming together, Cataclysm was just moments away. And thus concludes the tale of its origins.
In times like this, I wonder if we'll ever be free. I hope that whoever that purple-haired man was will help us. Or at least the red-headed Visor King. I know for a fact that Cataclysm is the right step for a brighter future. Scientia will forever be my priority, unlike my father. The Ultimatum, the most powerful deity in the entire barrier, always wanted what was best for himself. Keeping Scientia a secret and in a constant loop instead of letting it thrive and live. However, he only created these universes to benefit our own. To hide Scientia away and keep the power all to himself. Perhaps our fate has been determined. Only time will tell. Hello? Down here, help us!
Ha, there you are. Invidetine, I found them. Alright, on it. Come on you two, let's get out of here.
Scientia, where is she?
She's okay, there's no time to answer all your questions. Hold on to my arms and I'll get you out of here.
Thank you.
It's all good. Invidetine, it's time for a family reunion.